deep lines marking her cheeks. "My nephew did drop off a few shirts when he brought the peat on Monday." "There you are." Isabelle smiled brightly. "Go ahead and see about them." She watched the maid disappear into her small bedchamber, the door shut. Foolish, stupid girl, she chided herself. If she weren't cautious, Bessie would discover Isabelle's true identity. The past year had passed in peaceful anonymity. Her only correspondents were her brother and her last remaining friend, Lily. They both knew to address their letters to Mrs. Jocelyn Smith. Isabelle stroked her hand down the gown's limp sleeve, the embroidery's ridges a textural contrast to the slippery silk beneath. She'd never worn the dress. It was a winter gown, suited for a fete in London. That party never came. What had come was her mother-in-law, Caro, hurling accusations of adultery against Isabelle and Justin, while Isabelle was still bedridden with a broken rib. What had come was Justin's disappearance. She never saw or heard from her friend again after Caro came to Amherst. What had come was Marshall, confused and angry. He asked her over and over whether she had betrayed him. But what was the word of his wife of only months, compared to the wisdom of the woman he'd known all his life? He believed the worst, that Isabelle was the fortune-hunting, title-hungry Jezebel his mother had always known her to be. What finally came, after months of agonizing uncertainty, was the divorce. Isabelle stood on the walk in front of the village's little posting office, clutching the letter from her brother. Finally, her allowance. She tore it open as she started toward the mercantile where the owner would exchange a bank draft for currency. There remained no money to purchase peat for the fireplace, nor tallow candles, or Bessie's wages, or much food for that matter. With fingers aching in the cold, she unfolded the letter and blinked in surprise. Instead of a bank draft tucked inside, there were only a few lines in her brother's hand. She stopped and read the note in the middle of the walk. "Having given the matter due consideration, I find I must discontinue my financial support. While I was obligated to look after your welfare when you were unmarried, and would be again if you were widowed and destitute, I simply cannot afford to maintain you further in your present situation. My own circumstances no longer allow for such an expense, as I'm sure you understand. A. Fairfax." Cut off. Alexander had finally done it. She'd wondered, with her pittance of an allowance coming later and later every quarter, whether this was where it was headed. She scanned the letter again, searching for any sign of filial affection. There was none. Rather, she detected anger behind his words. Her present situation could only refer to her being divorced. If he truly felt no obligation to support his divorced sister, why had it taken him nearly 3 years to say so? Isabelle reversed direction and trudged back to her cottage with her brother's letter buried in the pocket of her heavy wool coat. There was nothing remotely feminine or decorous about her outerwear, but neither was there anything refined about the bitter wind that lifted last night's snowfall from the ground in swirling clouds that stung her eyes. The mile-long walk would not have been so burdensome if she had money in her pocket, instead of the cruel letter. Twice she lost her footing on snow-covered ice. "All it needs is a broken ankle to complete the Gothic tragedy," she muttered. She passed the rest of the trip home, laying out the novel in her mind. The ill-used maiden, broken in body and heart, taken to bed with consumption. The doctor shaking his head sadly. No hope for it, he'd say. Nothing more to be done.